help me to help you to help him. And then you'll hear him say, hey, 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 I'm milking the Milky Way. I'm loving this lovely day, and I feel like a million. Man, I can't make an Eartha Kitt song, the thing I start this with.
I'm milking the Milky Way. I'm loving this lovely day.
Oh, I'm Mother Goose, and I'm here to say that I love to speak in rhyme. I've been around for many, many years, for a very, very, very long time. Sure, that'll do. Greetings and salutations, beautiful humans! This is Amity Ravenclaw Elf, and you guys reacted so well to my previous Twilight video that now I have to make another Twilight video. I hope you guys liked this one as much as you liked the first one. I was planning to make one video for just how I would write the characters in this imaginary show, but I realized that was gonna take a long time because instead of like leaving out some minor characters, I was like, no, I want to be able to characterize Amun and Kebby. So it was going to be several hours if I had made that video. So instead, I'm gonna chop it up into parts. This part is gonna be just the human characters who are canon and the Cullens. I'm gonna have another section that is the rest of the canon vampire characters, and another video that is the canon werewolf characters and the OCs that I would make up for this show. Because if you've seen my How I Would Write the Tiana series on Disney Plus video, you know that I make up OCs sometimes. Hello, I'm also Amity Ravenclaw Elf, and having started editing this video, it has now become clear to me that this video will be only humans, so disregard what you have just heard. This video will be only about the canon human characters, the next video will be the Cullens, and then after that, the other vampires, and after that, werewolves and OCs. Thank you for your patience. I filmed the entirety of like a humans and Cullens video, and boy, it got long. I've started editing the video and it's still over 2 hours long, so it's gonna have to be just humans. All of that being said, this video is going to reference the previous Twilight video fairly often. Like, I'm going to kind of go into this assuming that you have seen the previous Twilight video and are well refreshed on my ideas for that one. So if you haven't seen that video, probably go back and watch it. If you have seen it but have like forgotten stuff about it, probably still go back and watch it. The overall theme here in my How I Would Write These Characters, and even how I would write the series in general, is that one, I'm trying to make what was meant to be made. So if there was a character who was described a certain way but characterized in a way that wasn't that, like if like, for example, if there's a character who everyone is saying is really nice and they're a jerk all the time, then I'm gonna like kind of tweak it to make it either them being the nice way that they are said to be, or canonize that dissonance and see what we can do with that. My other thing is, if what was meant to be made was like morally reprehensible in my eyes, I'm taking it out and fixing it. So making what was meant to be made and fixing what shouldn't have been meant to be made. My ideology going into this is that there is something worth salvaging in every piece of art. Every piece of art is communicating some truth about humanity or some emotional, boy, this is gonna get pretentious, hold on. Every piece of art is contributing something. Sometimes those things are more oblique in being received, but that's what I'm here for. I'm here to like take those nuggets of good and arrange them in a nice little pretty way. I'm sure that it sounds very arrogant to say that I'm fixing Twilight, but as I've said in the past, I have gone mad with power now, so that variety of arrogance is more or less par for the course. Now, adaptations in the past have utilized this arrogance to make things worse. I'm hoping this one won't. If it does, an effort was made. Also, trigger warning, this is about things that happen either in the books themselves or are mentioned in passing about what has happened to characters in the past, which means this is going to be referencing things like suicide, sexual assault, and domestic violence. So if you are sensitive in those areas, you might maybe want to not watch this. I'm going to definitely make an effort to be as sparing as possible in referencing those things. I'm not going to try to be gratuitous here. Let it be known that is going to be mentioned. So, without further ado, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna start talking about how I would write these characters. Bella. Starting on the human characters, we've got Bella Swan. Bella is going to have hangups, as stated in the previous video, around being parented and being cared for. I don't subscribe to the idea that the books don't give Bella characterization. A lot of people like to kind of throw that nugget out there of like, Bella doesn't have character traits, she's just a self-insert, which like she is a self-insert, but she does have traits. The thing that the book is sparse with is what she wants outside of Edward. Her personality is there, her likes and dislikes are pretty much there. It's the having goals outside of Edward that is lacking in the Bella department. So this show is going to dare to ask the question. It's going to bravely deign to ask the question of what Bella Swan wants to do with her life. A canon trait of hers is that she likes books, so we can work with that. My first thought was maybe she wants to be a writer, but I don't like it when, first of all, I always feel like characters in books or movies who want to be writers seem like self-inserts for the writer who wrote them. Kind of same with characters in books who like books, because I'm just thinking, well, I like books, obviously, because I'm reading this book, so now I relate to the character. It always feels a little bit cheap to me when it's like, I love books. Books are so wonderful. Like, yeah, I'm reading one. Obviously, I'm going to relate to you on that. I just want more fictional characters who don't like reading or books. I do like reading and books, but I would like less characters to do that just because it feels a little too easy as a relatable thing for them. But I digress. Her canon trait is that she likes books. We could go writer with that, but I don't want to. And also, if she becomes a writer, that's kind of a problem immortality-wise, because if she becomes a really prolific writer, then it's like, hey, unusually well preserved, isn't she? She can't get famous. She's not allowed to get famous because she's going to be a vampire later. So, writer, off the table. I'm going to take the fact that she likes books and the fact that she has to want to be something when she grows up because she's in high school, and surely a lot of people are asking her, hey, what are you going to major in college? Where do you want to go to college? What career do you want? Those are things that she has to know about herself very soon as far as she's concerned. So she's definitely given the matter thought. I'm going to go ahead and say, building on the book thing, that she, at the beginning of the series, wants to be an editor. I'm gonna actually use the what does she want to be when she grows up as a means of character development or communicating her character development, which is a nice little kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. At the beginning, she wants to be an editor, and the reason she wants to be an editor is because she has this belief about herself that she isn't creative, she doesn't think that she has anything of value to say, so she doesn't want to be a writer, and we're gonna have a conversation with Charlie about that, of like, oh, I can't be a writer, I'm not interesting enough, or I don't have anything to say, I can't really contribute a story to the world. Saying that out loud, I do realize that also seems very flattering to writers, and I don't like flattering writers in writing.
You like science fiction?
Not really. I mean, it's a good book, it's not really my genre though.
What is your genre?
Upmarket literary fiction, especially with some kind of historical period involved.
I always see you reading. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Huh?
I feel like there's a lot of things I should know about you, but I don't. You're a junior now, you've taken the SATs. What do you want to be?
I guess a book editor?
Book editor?
I like books. I'm good at spotting grammatical errors.
Ever think of being a writer? No? Okay. Okay.
Renee never asked me that. Her initial perspective is, I don't think that I have a story to tell, but I believe that I believe that I have good grammar. I'm not saying that editors are uncreative. I'm just saying that that's what Bella views herself as. As the series progresses and she seeks to take such a passive view to her own life, she starts to move away from the editor idea, and now she thinks she wants to be a literary agent. She wants to take a more active role in the stories being told. She doesn't want to write them, but she does want to help them to go forward as they are. She wants to find the stories that deserve to be told, and she wants to help them to get told. She wants to bring them to the audience they need to be brought to. Put a pin in that idea. Maybe there's an episode where she and Rosalie work on a car together, like she wants to talk to Rosalie and Rosalie's like, hey, while you're here, hold this. And she ends up like helping Rosalie with a car, and they have a kind of bonding moment, and after doing that, she's like, oh man, maybe I want to work with my hands. Maybe I want to be a bookbinder. Writing is too low-hanging fruit. She's never going to consider being a writer. A lot of people are going to say, hey, why don't you be a writer? And maybe the imaginary fandom for this imaginary show is going to be like, oh my gosh, we get it, she's gonna be a writer, stop telegraphing it so hard. But it's like, no, she's not. You think you know where I'm going with this, but you don't, because you're just a viewer. What this is all going to culminate in is that Bella is going to settle, drum roll, on wanting to be a librarian. And I know this feels like an anticlimax, but the fact that that feels like an anticlimax is the point. Bella Swan wants to help pair people with the stories that will change their life. She wants to be active in the providing of books, in the access of books. It's an unglamorous job, and it's not a hugely respected job, which is why you had that immediate feeling of, oh, that's it, librarian. That's why you had that feeling, is because it's not a highly respected job. But here's the thing. That means she's not going to be remembered. She's going to change people's lives in a lot of ways, but people aren't going to remember her. So she can be a vampire, she can be immortal, she can go from library to library doing little good deeds. They do such a service and we don't remember them. I remember my first librarian. I'm just saying, for the purposes of the show, it's a good fit. Another major thread for her is that she wants to be left alone. We're not going the book route of like, oh, these welcoming people are so nice to me. There's merit to the fact that she kind of wants to be left alone, and we can express that without making her seem judgmental and rude. That's aided by the fact that we don't have her internal monologue. A lot of people like Bella irrespective of her internal monologue. It's when we know that she's thinking bad things about them that we kind of go, Bella, that's really mean. But yeah, Renee left her alone a lot, so that has kind of become her comfort zone. The whole town being friendly and caring makes her feel uncomfortable. She doesn't think less of them for it, but it makes her uncomfortable. Like, yeah, I understand what you're doing, but I really kind of need to be left alone because I don't feel comfortable with this. However, despite feeling that being alone is her comfort zone and feeling that she wants people to leave her alone, when people do leave her alone, she doesn't like it. We can demonstrate this trait. For the first several scenes in which we see Bella, she's gonna seem very, I'll do it myself, I'm fine, I got this. We're not gonna see her cry. In the books, we see her cry as soon as she gets home. We're not gonna have that scene yet. What we're going to have is when she gets to school, there's going to be a student who says, hey, I can show you to all your classes. That's probably gonna be Eric, because it was Eric in the book. But yeah, we're gonna have a student who's just like, I can show you to your classes. Do you need help? I got you. And she's gonna be like, no, I'm fine. I got this. And he gives her space. He lets her figure it out, and she gets lost. She can't figure out her way to class, and she's going to go hide in a bathroom and cry. That's when we're going to see her cry, is when she's gotten lost in the school. Maybe when she goes to cry in the bathroom, she runs into Jessica, and Jessica's like, hey, what's up? And then Jessica shows her the way to class, and that's how she's gonna befriend Jessica. Or Angela, maybe she walks out of the bathroom and it's Mike. Her feelings on Edward are going to go as follows. First, she's gonna be attracted and fascinated by the hot guy she sees in the distance. Second, she's going to no longer be particularly fascinated once he's no longer in the distance. Hi, it's me again, the one who's editing. A quick note, that may sound like a contradiction that she's no longer fascinated by him, especially since you're about to hear me say that she is still subject to vampire allure as like signified by the sound of their voice like mentioned in the previous video. But in this case, what I'm saying is that fascination is not attraction. She's attracted to him because of the vampire allure, but she is not fascinated with him in that she doesn't want to pursue anything. She's not like really trying to move forward with him at all. This is gonna be when the first bio class happens and they're talking normally like I mentioned in the first video. Third, she's going to be bewildered and curious by the fact that he acts weird immediately after that. He acts weird. He starts going, I can't smell you because you taste so good. And as a result of that, she's bewildered and curious again. She's like, okay, what was that about? Now I have to know. Then she's invested in the mystery of the hot guy. So Edward isn't exactly going to be an exception to her aversion to attention. He's just going to be a puzzle she wants to solve. Initially. When she discovers that he's a vampire, this dynamic is going to shift. She enjoys being around Edward because he's a hot, edgy vampire, and because he offers her a chance to be alone without being alone. She can kind of sit with him, and it's like being in a bubble, because no one really wants to interact with the Cullens too much, so it's like no one's gonna really bother you once you're hanging out with Edward. So she gravitates towards him just based on that, and based on the fact that she knows he's a vampire, and that's really cool. She can read and zone out, no one's gonna interrupt her, but also she's not literally alone, so she doesn't have to go cry in a bathroom anymore. It starts out shallow for both of them, basically. He wants to learn her because he can't read her mind, and he's very curious. She likes having a hot vampire nearby who keeps friends from bothering her. When she doesn't want to be bothered, she still interacts with her friends when she does feel like it. She's an introvert. Sometimes she just doesn't have the stamina for interaction, and that's okay. He falls in love with her before she falls in love with him. He kind of finds the relationship unethical, not only because of the fact that he wants to drink her, but because he believes that she's just under the influence of his vampire allure. I mentioned in the previous video how we're gonna have like little music playing or a little sound cue whenever they speak to a human to indicate like their voice is really mesmerizing. That's still gonna be a thing, but it's gonna become less and less of a thing as the more Bella interacts with him. Like, we're gonna have it just kind of like start to fade out, and then before we know it, suddenly it's not happening anymore. Suddenly we're not having that little sound cue anymore, and he's just talking to her normally and they're having conversations. And he's gonna be like, man, you're just with me because of the vampire allure, you don't understand. And she's like, no, listen, I know myself. It was the vampire allure before. Now I just like your personality. I'm able to perform introspection well enough to know that this is no longer a matter of vampire allure, and it is now a matter of the fact that you're really like fun to be around for me. basically, instead of being worshipful to the point of dehumanization with each other, we're going to have them be a down-to-earth variety of loving. They're going to give each other compliments still, but it's not going to be like, you're the love of my life, nothing matters but you. It's going to be like, you're really cool to be around. You play the piano very well. I like when we talk about the olden days. They start out with that foundation in the books. In the books, they do start out going, oh man, I'm very interested in you. That kind of fades away. Largely, it does become a matter of, I'm in love with you, and that's like their dialogue forever. They have some real conversations, but not as many. Character-wise, this is a bit of a difficult foundation because he's from the olden times, and she has this thing where she doesn't like to be taken care of. So he might be going into it like, you have to take care of your woman. You have to make sure that your woman is supported and cared for. And she's like, I need to be able to do this by myself or I will be very upset. I'm already getting this from my dad. I do not want it from you. In the books, he did have a lot of dad energy, which a lot of people did not enjoy. The let other people take care of you storyline is already Charlie's gig, so we're not giving Edward that. Instead of going the complimentary route of like, yes, this hang-up goes perfectly with this hang-up. His views on women go perfectly with her not wanting to be taken care of. We're not going with that. Instead, we're going to kind of go the common ground route in that he was raised as a male in the early 20th century and she was raised by a negligent mother. They're both used to having to suppress their emotions. They can't really express when they're scared or in pain or sad. Now, through each other, they're both expressing all of these emotions they've been repressing, and that's why their relationship is so bonkers. And yes, though I am like gonna clean it up a little bit, it is still going to be bonkers. I really have to fight canon a bit on this one because there is a lot going against the ship canonically, and I don't want to just get rid of all of it because that's not in the spirit of the show. Like I said, there's value in everything, so let's say, okay, so he was doing this, she was doing this. What can we take from that would convey a similar idea without being morally reprehensible? For me, I'm thinking we gotta lean into it a little bit. They're both dumb teens who do dumb things because their love is intense and new. And yes, we are going the route of Edward is a teenager forever. He is emotionally a teenager. He's going to be like this. He's going to be chaotic for his entire life. The fact that Stephanie Meyer characterized him as an old man a lot of the time while still saying, oh no, emotionally I'm a teenager, so it's fine, was a bit of a swing and a miss for her. It kind of gives the vibe of, I'm an old man, but you're mature for your age, so it's fine. That thing that predators say. Their love feels intense and new, so they're dumb teens doing dumb things. Emphasis on dorky and dumb and in love. Emphasis on the newness of everything and their difficulty expressing it because their feelings, they're not used to expressing their feelings. Less emphasis on their inflated sense of self-importance and their conviction that their love is the best love and stuff. Less emphasis on their disregard for other people's safety. Instead of going, oh, Bella hates attention, as just a reason to respect her while the other characters just shower her with unwanted pageantry so that we get to have the self-insert beautiful wedding, but we don't have to worry about her being the kind of person who wants a beautiful wedding because apparently that's bad. We're going to actually develop the fact that because of her upbringing and being kind of neglected by her mother, she has difficulty feeling that she deserves to be celebrated. If we're going just surface level with this because we're scared that making Bella too flawed will make people not like her anymore, she doesn't feel that she deserves to be celebrated, and she learns that she does deserve to be celebrated because people convey to her that she deserves to feel special, and then she learns it and it's good. I would honestly kind of like to expound on it though and have it be that not only does she feel this discomfort with being celebrated, but she also feels kind of annoyed when other people are celebrated. Her feelings that she doesn't deserve to feel special have created this reaction in her that others don't deserve to make spectacles of their milestones or accomplishments. Don't make a big deal celebrating my birthday. Don't make a big deal celebrating yours either. I don't want all this fanfare for anybody. I just like us to be going through our lives silently and comfortably. She isn't mean about it. Like, she's not like, oh, will you get over yourself? She's not like making a whole thing. It does make her uncomfortable when anyone is being genuinely lauded. Maybe she'll have a line like, I don't know how anyone could enjoy that. We're all just trying to live our lives. Why aren't we allowed to just keep our heads down without making every little thing an event? She's gonna say this to Charlie, by the way. It's gonna be Charlie she says this to. And then Charlie, through some little probing and questions, is going to unearth that Renee was very sporadic about remembering her milestones and accomplishments. Maybe she forgets her birthday a lot of the time, and that's why Bella gets this feeling of, it's no big deal to leave my birthday alone. And so Charlie's gonna be the one to deliver the lesson that it's okay to let people feel special, and it's okay to feel special yourself. Maybe we'll let her surprise Jessica with a gift for her birthday or something like that to show that growth. All of this to say, by the time her birthday party is a thing, she will be cool with actually celebrating. Like, she's still getting used to it, but she's not actively opposed to the idea, so she willingly lets Alice go wild with stuff. She's not like, no, Alice, please don't give me a party, and then Alice gives her a party, and it's like, hey, Alice, she asked you not to. Bella's still wincing a little, but she's getting into it, and she's like enjoying it. By the time the wedding rolls around, she's having more fun with it than she ever thought she would. She's picking out bouquets. It's still reserved by most people's standards, but Bella's going to just be like, I chose the bouquet, and I liked the bouquet that I chose, and I feel that I deserve to have that bouquet because I'm getting married. Like, we're gonna have like those little victories of like, man, I do deserve to have a nice wedding, and I do want a nice wedding, and I'm happy about the way the wedding turned out. It'll be fun to watch her develop that sense of self-esteem, especially since it's no longer in a written format, so it's not going to be, oh, she's selfless in the sense that she drags the reader through self-flagellatory prose for extended periods of time, repeatedly emphasizing how selfish she thinks she is, while the other characters go, oh no, you're so selfless, you never think of anyone else. And that's how they talk forever now. Oh no, I shouldn't have done that. I'm so selfish for doing that. But like, she doesn't stop doing it. She doesn't feel that she's being selfish enough to stop doing what she's doing, just enough to spend 2 pages talking about it or thinking about it. And the reader's just like, yep, another paragraph of this. That's fun. Disposition-wise, she'll be more friendly and less judgmental than Book Bella, but she'll still be awkward, clumsy, and kind of on the morose side. The books say repeatedly that she's a bad liar. They also have people believe her lies pretty much all of the time, indicating that she's a good liar. But honestly, that kind of works for screen anyway, because that's always how people lie in shows and movies. They'll just be like, oh, I went to the, to bakery, and that's how people lie in movies and shows all the time, and people still believe them, like, oh, you went to the bakery, cool. As if that's how people talk. So we can keep her being a bad liar and people believing her if we want. Okay, finally we're off the Bella section, because that felt like it took long and my throat already hurts. Second human on the list, we got Charlie. Charlie Swan. It's never really relevant that he's a cop, so he's just kinda not be one. I was thinking like, hey, what plot relevant job could we give him? Like, the fact that he was a cop didn't really play into a lot of stuff in the books. The fact that they respected him and called him chief was something. The fact that he was, you know, going after killers and like giant wolves, that's kind of something, but it also never was super plot relevant that he was doing that. Like, if he hadn't been doing that, the plot still would have largely happened the way it did anyway. Just in the background, it was like, oh yeah, Charlie's looking for big dogs. He's never going to find one. He's not going to find a wolf and end up in that kind of situation. The only time he finds a werewolf is when a werewolf is like, hey, Charlie, I'm a werewolf. If we make him a doctor, then he works with Carlisle, and that would be a cool dynamic of like, oh, they work in the hospital together. 2 bros chilling in a hospital. I don't really want to do that though, because I want Carlisle to be the one who's a doctor, because I like the dynamic of like, he is the team doctor. He is the one we go to when there's an injury. Carlisle's the guy. I thought about making Charlie a fireman. There's kind of a connection there in that like fire's the thing that kills vampires, but that doesn't really work on more than a surface level. Like, he's not setting fires. He doesn't have a flamethrower as a fireman, so that doesn't really give him anything. What I'm settling on here is I'm gonna have my cake and eat it too with regards to him being respected by the community and being called chief and stuff, in that he used to be a cop, but now he's a social worker. So people will still be like, hey chief, and he's like, ex-chief, I'm a social worker now. I work socially. I don't have any current plans to give him an arc as such, but his job is going to kind of inform his relationship with Billy Black, Jacob's dad, and Harry Clearwater, Leah's dad, in that he's going to see a lot of systemic prejudice in his line of work. Maybe the other social workers are way more willing and inclined to take Indigenous children away from their household and like send them up for adoption, whereas Charlie is more compassionate and like, hey, no, that's not a proportionate response to what's happening here. If this were a real show that was actually being made, this is the point at which I would find some actual Native Americans who are experts on the subject of this kind of prejudice and hire them to consult on the writing of these scenes, you know, ask them how they would want this issue approached and addressed, and you know, the facts of the matter. But I don't have a crack team, and this isn't a real show, so I'm gonna kind of leave it. So yeah, he's a social worker, he's an ex-cop, he's friends with Billy and Harry, and he's a functional adult who can cook and clean and doesn't need his daughter to tell him not to microwave a soup can. It wasn't a soup can, it was like a jar of spaghetti sauce or something. There was a spoon in it. I think that's what it was, like a jar of spaghetti sauce with a spoon in it, and she was like, you can't have a metal spoon in there. Something like that. I'd have to go back and read it, and I don't think it really matters that much. He's not looking for love, but if someone asks him out, he'll go. Like, he'll just be like, you know, it's fun. Yeah, sure, let's go out on a date. That's fun. There's no drama with him. He's secure and kind. Obviously, we're getting rid of that canonical book moment where he congratulates Jacob for kissing Bella non-consensually. The movie kind of dodged that moment by having him be silent the whole time, so the people who know that that scene was messed up won't have a problem with him in the movie, and the people who didn't know that that scene was messed up and thought that it was really funny won't be like, why did they change it and make Charlie a jerk to Jacob? In this show, what we're gonna have Charlie do is pull Jacob aside and give him a lecture on consent. That's a quirk we're giving Charlie, by the way, is that he has a tendency to lecture people. Depending on how cartoony we want to make this, I kind of want to make that a running gag, is that someone will be talking about something they're doing, or maybe they'll walk into a room arguing with somebody else and Charlie just happens to be there, and then it just like cuts to him lecturing them on what they're doing. So visualize a scene, Bella and Jacob walk into the Swan house and they're arguing, but they're in the background of the shot. In the foreground of the shot, Charlie's reading a book, and he looks up when he hears them arguing, and he just kind of like goes, close the book, puts it down, gets up, and then hard cut to the two on the couch listening to him lecture them. Person does a thing or says a thing, hard cut to Charlie lecturing them. The more we do it, the more we're gonna start to anticipate it, and it'll be a huge laugh, like, yes, Charlie! Of course, that's gonna be kind of like a parabola situation where it's like, oh, it's happened so much that it's funny, and we've overshot it now, it's too much, we gotta stop doing it. It's not a once an episode kind of gag. It's gotta be like a 3 times a season type deal. In short, we got functional, firm, but fair Charlie. Those are the 3 F's for Charlie Swan. Next human, we got Renee, Bella's mom. Now, the movies went a direction with Renee where they kind of took out a lot of the book stuff where it's like, wow, Renee is so flighty, where Bella is suggesting that she was like practically raising her mother and herself. The movies were like, she's flighty in the sense of like, hey, let's go on a road trip. She makes a quilt for Bella out of their trip t-shirts, not flighty in the sense of like literally neglectful parenting. We're not just going to just go, Renee sucks, end of story. We're not doing that. As things start happening to Bella, she's going to realize that she's a bad parent. Maybe there's going to be a situation where like Bella has been admitted to the hospital, maybe at the end of the conflict of book 1, i.e. season 1. Bella's in the hospital and both Renee and Charlie are talking to the doctor, and the doctor's like, what's Bella's blood type? And Renee's like, I don't know, and Charlie knows it. If we're going for an arc there, we could give Renee a therapist and she can like kind of talk through what a bad person she's been and call Bella like, I am so sorry. If we're going to be annoying with it, we can make her therapist a vampire, maybe from the Volturi, who's there to spy on Bella or infiltrate the Cullens or something, like make it a little dramatic thing of like, I have a new therapist, and then the therapist is a vampire, and ooh no, the therapist is a vampire, that matters. But I don't really like it when shows do that, when it's like, yes, I have a new boyfriend, here he is, a vampire, oh no! I don't like that stuff, so we're not gonna do that in my mind, but we could make the therapist a vampire if we want to. It's a gimmick we don't need. I think we just want her going to therapy to be a good thing. I don't think we need to complicate it like, she's going to therapy, good, oh no, she's a vampire, she should have anticipated that. She'll be atoning for her bad parenting in various ways throughout the series, like little phone calls or little gifts that she'll mail to Bella and stuff like that. But her role in the parts of the series that come from the books, her role in the canon bits is going to be as small as it was in the books. We're not going to add her into scenes where she wasn't. After the canon events of the books, when the show gets to kind of go wild, go off the rails, go crazy, what I'm going to do is kind of go the Percy Jackson mortal mom and mortal stepdad versus supernatural threat route with it. We could give Renee a flamethrower and let her torch some vampires. Probably not that, but I'm thinking in some later season when the characters are really on the bad side of the Volturi, they're gonna need someplace to go. They can't go to the Cullen house. Maybe the Cullen house has been destroyed. All of their allies have been uprooted from their homes because the Volturi are attacking them too. And all of these allies and the Cullens have to go where? They have to go to Renee's house. The Volturi won't think to go there, or at least they won't immediately think to go there, because Aro can't read Bella's mind, so he wouldn't know that much about Renee. They can research Renee, but that'll be like a second step, not a first step, so that the vampires can already converge on Renee's house before the Volturi think to do that. Also, if they didn't go to Renee's house, the Volturi would eventually use Renee against Bella, so 2 birds, 1 stone. We get a safe house, and we are keeping Renee out of the Volturi's hands. Renee, Charlie, Phil, the wolves, the imprints, and the vampires, and Renesmee, all in one house together. In order for that to happen, I'm gonna make it a big house, and in order for that to happen, I'm gonna make Phil like a major league baseball player instead of a minor league baseball player. At this point, Bella's parents learn about vampires. They know the supernatural stuff now. We're not just going, need to know basis. Nope, they know now. They know the stuff. They have to figure out a way to defend themselves, flamethrower, and Renee immediately wants to be a vampire. Kind of like Bella. This is gonna be kind of like the apple doesn't fall far moment where she's like, oh man, I wanna be a vampire real bad immediately. She's not gonna become one though, because that's just too much. But yeah, she thinks vampires are very cool and she wants to be one. Then again, once you learn about vampires in the Twilight universe, you kind of have to become a vampire. Not because of the Volturi even, but because like, can you really go through life knowing that anyone can just grab and eat you and like you can do nothing about it? Then again, I'm giving her a flamethrower. She has a flamethrower, she's fine. She and Phil might swing with Kate and Garrett, just because I feel like they have similar energies. I've got to stop developing this idea now, or else I never will. Next human is Phil. He's gonna still basically be a ghost for a long time, because I think that's funny to see him as little as possible to a suspicious degree. Hey, we've never seen Phil. We've had some cutaways to Renee, and we always see like the back of Phil's head or something. What's up with Phil? Where's Phil's face? He's gonna be like Wizard Kelly for a bit. There will always be some reason not to see Phil on screen. We see Phil in the fridge, and then he starts to close the fridge, and we're like, oh, we get to finally see Phil, and then a cabinet opens and we can't see his face. That's what I want. But that's only gonna be for the canon book events, like with Renee, that's only gonna happen for the canon book events. When we're living in his house, we're going to see him, although it would be funny if we still didn't. When his house becomes the base for the vampire resistance, that's gonna be the first time we see Phil, and it's gonna be so exciting, like, we see Phil! And he's not even gonna be like a famous actor, he's just a guy, but it's still cool. It's like, we finally see Phil's face! Maybe we'll have him be like attractive, so it'll be like, oh man, we finally saw Phil's face, and hold on a minute. Or I guess we could do like a little gag casting and have him be a guy who was in the Twilight movies. When we finally get to enjoy Phil as a character, I want to be very jolly and go with the flow. And that we understand how he and Renee get along so well, because like Renee will be like, let's do this, and he'll be like, yeah, let's do it, sure, why not? I'm going with the flow, babe. It'll be comedic to have him calmly chatting with the supernatural creatures while like Charlie and Renee freak out about it. Like, wait a minute, are you telling me that my daughter is a vampire now? You drink blood? Have you killed people? No, only animals? Still, that's weird. You've like pinned down animals and drunk from their veins? Cut to Phil coming in with his tray of lemonade, like, okay, I think I have enough lemonade for the wolves and the humans. Can I get you vampires anything? Never mind. Phil owns a dog, which he loves, and the vampires really want to eat his dog. There's gonna be a point similar to in Breaking Dawn where like they're consigned to the house, they can't leave the house. Volturi are like surrounding them, so they can't leave without getting picked off. So it's like, man, I want to eat that dog. He's not human. I shouldn't eat Bella's parents, but I can eat that dog. Phil is not going to pick up on the clear signs that one of those vampires is gonna eat his dog. The imaginary fandom for this imaginary show is gonna be like, no one better kill that dog. Wait, no, don't look at the dog. Like, it's gonna be great. People are gonna be like, if someone kills that dog, I'm gonna be very upset. And I, the writer of this imaginary show, am gonna be like, I have power over you. I could have someone eat the dog if I wanted. Phil keeps cheerfully accidentally saving the dog, like a vampire's like about to eat it, and he walks into the room like, hey guys, what you doing? I'm gonna pin it down, you're gonna drink it, and you're gonna throw it out the window so they don't know. Hey guys, what's up? And in the imaginary fandom for this imaginary show, Twitter goes nuts anytime any vampire looks at the dog. I'm gonna have a scene start with a shot of the dog walking into a room, and everyone's gonna have their hearts like beating so fast, and I'm gonna be like, fear, my puppets, fear. We're done with Bella and the parent figures, now to the human friends. The movies did a really good job with Bella's human friends, and I'd be cool with making them the way they were in the movies, but I think if this were a real show, there would be some copyright reason not to do that. And anyway, I want to imagine a product that stands on its own, so I'm gonna diverge. I'm gonna go a different route with it. First, we're starting with Eric. In the book, Bella specifically characterizes Eric as like greasy with acne and visibly nerdy, and it's like, geez, Bella. But he's characterized as nerdy in a way that's kind of reminiscent of like the stereotypical Poindexter. We're gonna update the kind of nerd he is, 21 Jump Street style. I think I like the idea of going Lego robotics with it. He's a Lego robotics kind of nerd, like Peter and Ned in Spider-Man Homecoming. Also, there's gonna be a running gag with him that he seems to have every extracurricular activity, such that like we're never gonna need to have an extra passing out flyers or selling tickets to something or being on the morning announcements, because it's going to be Eric always. Eric is always the guy doing stuff. Again, depending on how cartoony we want to make it, maybe we'll see Eric passing out tickets, and then we'll see him on the morning announcements, and it's like, wait, where'd he go? How'd he get there so fast? I guess that doesn't work if any school pre-records their morning announcements, but my high school always had like the morning announcements live. In the books, I'm pretty sure he was the valedictorian instead of Jessica. I liked Jessica as valedictorian in the movies, but I'm gonna keep the book thing where he's valedictorian. It doesn't make that much of a difference. I'm not gonna have him give a cool speech or anything. Eric isn't going to have a huge role, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on now. Mike. In the books, it seems like his character pretty much exists to emphasize that Bella is desirable. Yeah, we have annoying nerds crushing on Bella, but what about hot guys? Yeah, Mike is cute, girls like him, and he wants Bella. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be desired, but I'm gonna kind of go a different way with it. And this Mike is kind of just gonna be one of those teenage boys who is flirty like every high school has. Like, he kind of flirts with all of the girls in a haha, just kidding, unless kind of way. He's not particularly infatuated with Bella, but he would definitely be down if she reciprocated his flirtation. Also, I'm gonna have him and Jessica mutually crushing on each other, because Stephanie Meyer's Jessica likes Mike, but Mike likes Bella, and Bella mercifully donates Mike to her out of pity, and just to get Mike off her back. That angle feels kind of mean. Mike and Jessica are gonna kind of have an idiots in love vibe in a very teenagery way, but not like a mean-spirited, ha, teens are idiots kind of thing. It's gonna be very nostalgic in tone, like, oh man, you know how kooky the teen years were. That was crazy. They'll have normal youthful mishaps and be a little immature about expressing their feelings is what I'm saying. They're human, they're young. The relationship will be played for laughs in some way in that the audience and Bella are going to derive amusement from their relationship drama, but it's also going to parallel similar relationship drama that Bella and Edward are going to have, and that's going to kind of further drive home that Edward and Bella are just regular teenagers but with supernatural stakes. It's like, no, they're still doing similar stuff to Mike and Jessica, they just happen to be doing it on a supernatural, life-threatening scale. Moving on from Mike, Jessica. Jessica is going to be like comically messy. She's going to be stirring the pot in a whimsical way. She's not deliberately a gossip, but she'll kind of let stuff slip and like Hagrid style, like, oh, I shouldn't have told you that. But it's not like an artifice of like, oh no, I've said too much. It's like Scar from The Lion King. It's gonna be kind of more, she'll let things slip while discussing other things, so it won't occur to her not to mention a thing because she's withholding something on a different front. Just by virtue of talking for long enough, she'll let something slip and just be like, oh man, that was a total secret, oh my gosh. If Bella ever wants to spread a rumor about herself, she'll casually mention it to Jessica and then tell her, don't tell anybody. And then it'll be around the school like so fast because Jessica just accidentally tells people things. We're never gonna play it as deliberate though. Jessica's just a little bit scatterbrained. The movie version of Jessica was like quirky honor student valedictorian, like she's very smart. She'll talk about the themes and messages of a zombie movie and like how it's a metaphor for consumerism, so she's very perky and girly and stuff. I like the movie's vibe. I like that she gets to be very smart and also very teenage girl, unapologetically so. I like that she says some girls like to shop. Like that's good. For the show, I'm going for an intersection of theater kid and band kid. Jessica always is gonna have an anecdote from drama practice or band camp. Her energy is pleasant to be around. When Bella becomes a bridge between the Cullens and like the rest of the school, or at least between the Cullens and her friend group, Jessica is gonna get along really well with Alice, and we're gonna actually show that. It's gonna be very fun. Next up is Angela. In canon, Angela is a preacher's daughter. In the show, I'm gonna make her gay, and we're deriving no drama from that in the slightest. There's no drama as a result of her being a preacher's daughter who is gay. She's just gay, and she has a dad who's a preacher. They're not mad, it's fine. In the books, Angela is in a relationship with Ben, who does not exist in the movies. In the movies, Angela is in a relationship with Eric. I'm gonna kind of go a different route and say that Angela's in a relationship with Lauren. Lauren wasn't in the movies, but she existed in the books as just like a blonde girl to not like Bella. You can tell when Jessica is on Bella's side and when she isn't, because when she's on Bella's side, she's with Bella, and when she's not on Bella's side, she's with Lauren. Angela has a crush on Lauren. It's a very sugar and salt ship. It's very cute. Like in the books and movies, here Angela's gonna be mellow and kind. We're also gonna give her a slightly twisted side just to play off of Lauren. This is kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but I will divulge that in this series, Lauren is gonna be a little bit on the goth side, a little bit on the punk side. Not literally like Wednesday Addams stereotypical wears all black with black lipstick goth. More punk leaning than goth really, but kind of like snarky and dark. So that's gonna be Lauren's characterization. I'll get to that later. Don't worry. If you're worried about what I just said, don't worry, I'll get to it. So Angela is gonna kind of play off of that. She'll just be like, oh my gosh, I love your sketch of a dead deer. It looks so pretty and realistic. You're so talented. Can I see more of your art, or is that too personal? And then Lauren will kind of be like, I mean, you can see my sketchbook if you want. And then Angela showers her in praise, and it's like really cute. It's the first time we see Lauren be soft with somebody. The vibe between Angela and Jessica and Bella is going to be closer to movie version than book version, and I realize that I've said that I'm trying not to go to a movie version with it, but in that regard, it is going to be kind of movie-ish, and that it's like they all hang out together and talk together, and like it's very cool and fun. They're tight, and they do activities, and they enjoy each other's company. Thematically, Angela is going to be kind of the opposite of Jessica. Instead of being comically prone to relationship speed bumps that parallel what Bella and Edward are doing, Angela's relationship will be dramatically devoid of speed bumps to contrast with Bella and Edward. And what I don't want to do here is go, oh, queer ships are perfect and there's never any abuse or toxicity, they're completely perfect. Like that's a harmful message, and like that's something that I'm gonna have to account for in this. There'll be other queer ships, so we're gonna kind of avert that problem by virtue of like not having only one be the representation. But yes, for specifically Angela and Lauren, they're gonna be dramatically devoid of speed bumps to contrast with what Bella and Edward are going through. You know that moment in the Twilight movie where Bella's in the car escaping from James, and she looks out the window and she sees her human friends just like walking out of a restaurant, hanging out and being human and young and happy, and you kind of get that sense of, oh man, that's what she's missing out on by virtue of being in a relationship with a vampire. She's missing that side of life that she should be allowed to have. That's basically the role that Angela and Lauren are gonna be playing, is like giving her that sense of, oh man, this is something that I can't have because I'm in a relationship with a vampire. Maybe at some point while Bella is really feeling the impact of not being able to talk to Charlie about the vampire stuff, she's gonna find out that Angela's dad is a preacher, and she's gonna be like, oh man, I hate to pry, but does he know that you're gay? Yes, I feel so lucky that I don't have to keep secrets from him. I don't know what I would do if I couldn't talk to him about stuff. Maybe a little on the nose for what Bella's going through, but you get the gist. Bella feels sad that she can't tell Charlie the full story, and she kind of has to shoulder the mystical stuff by herself, but don't worry, Bella. Just wait till season 6. Tyler, short section because he's not a major friend character, but we are going to make recklessness a trait of his so that almost killing Bella is the culmination of something, and his penitence after that is like kind of almost an arc. I realize that his penitence does come from the movie because in the book he keeps flirting with Bella after that. Again, I am gonna dip into the movie a little bit here in that he's gonna have a normal human reaction to almost killing someone. Basically, let me have this. Now for Lauren. Basically, the direction I'm going with Lauren is that she's kind of a little bit on the goth side, very much on the punk side, very frank. She's not gonna be framed as a villain, and she's not gonna be framed as like the hot blonde girl we're supposed to hate because she's blonde and femme and doesn't like Bella. She is still blonde and feminine, and she does still have a poor disposition towards Bella. It's just that she gives no craps about Bella's drama, really. I'd like not to frame her as like a villain or a hero. Like, we're not gonna sit there like, yeah, thank you for giving it to Bella, Lauren. Finally. We're not gonna go full, she's our queen, she's our Sharpay, and we're gonna girl boss her after the fact. None of that. We're gonna be pretty neutral about her. Like, she's just a girl saying her thoughts. You can take them or leave them. She's still pretty and popular, and we're gonna kind of give the vibe that she could hang out with whatever friend group she wants to, and she hangs out with Jessica and Bella for Angela. Like, she hangs out with them because Angela's there and she likes Angela. Last canon human character, Emily. I'll get to her later. I'm not doing her in this section. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put her in the werewolf section, not because she's gonna become a werewolf or something, but just because I'm not ready to talk about her yet. And that's everything! That's everybody in the first section! I hope that I said all that I wrote in the outline, because I did ad-lib some stuff. Let me know in the comments what you think about the characters, how you would characterize them. Thank you so much for watching this long. Be sure to have a nice day, treat yourself with kindness, treat others with kindness, and have a great day.